You're right, guys. Welcome to Football and Fitness United. My name's James, and we got a special guest today. We got Gaz with us. First of all, how are you doing, mate?
I'm all good, mate. I'm presuming because I know nothing about football that you've got me on because of this Adonis body that you can see before you, and I'm representing the fitness here. Because, mate, I can see you've let yourself go a little bit, haven't you, in terms of fitness, mate? I'm a lot bigger than you now.
That's exactly how it is, mate. I'm here to cover the football. Gaz is here to cover the fitness and the maintenance of the beard. And yeah, it's all good, man. So absolute pleasure to have you on. So basically, we're just going to have a quick chat today. I'll put the topics across the bottom. We're going to do a quick introduction, then we're going to talk about what it's like to grow up in Manchester as a Red. I think there's a lot of stuff on social media sometimes about what people think that are from Manchester versus people that aren't from Manchester. So we're going to talk a little bit about what it was like being red versus blue as a kid. And then we're going to talk about favourite United memories, and maybe a couple of derbies might come into that. Going to have a discussion about an all-time Premier League 11 from Manchester United. So I'm not going to give mine, but I'm just going to let Gaz give his and probably critique it and make a few tweaks if he steps out of line. Then going to talk about last night's game, expectations for the season, and then we're going to quiz Gaz on basically his job role, his life in the media, and what it's like to work around Manchester United. So, yeah, mate, introduction first of all. So, what's your name? Where'd you come from? All that kind of stuff. And how long have you been involved with Manchester United, mate?
Yeah, so my name's Gaz. I've been a Man United fan all my life. I would have been disowned by my family if I wasn't a Manchester United fan. My mum, my dad's a United fan, and my grandma, my granddad are all big United fans. So it goes back generations. I've been a United season ticket holder since. I always get the year wrong on this, and it's somewhere between 15 and 18 years. But the season after Wayne Rooney made his debut. So Wayne Rooney made his debut against
2004, I think, something like that.
I think maybe. I think I want to say 2006-07 was probably my first season with a season ticket. And I was very lucky in that sense because obviously it was my grandma and granddad who took me to the games because I was a kid at that age. And I never looked back since, mate. Just fell in love with the game, fell in love with Manchester United as a football club. Been and watched them in Champions League finals. I've seen them lose 2 Champions League finals, unfortunately, but I've seen them in them at least. I've seen them win 1. And since then, mate, got involved in a lot of fan media from Full-Time Devils back in the day. Started sort of getting involved with them when I saw what they were doing and saw that they were looking for, passionate Man United fans. And then I've always had a passion for radio as well and always wanted to be a radio presenter, whether it be in sports broadcasting or just music broadcasting or anything like that. And I'm in a lucky position now where I get to host a football phone-in show on BBC Radio Manchester. So that's a brief summary of my story, I guess. Oh, yeah, and if you can't tell by the stupid frigging accent as well, yeah, I'm from various different parts of Manchester.
Yeah. So
I also need to stress as well at this point, I just saw this red and black. This is AC Milan. This isn't a City shirt because I know City have had a few red and black away shirts. This is not AC Milan, right?
They have, mate. It's funny that you say that because quite often when they say, I got called out for wearing a blue top once, and I'm like, you do realise if you go back far enough, United played in blue and City played in red and black. You do realise that people are allowed to wear and play in different colours. It's bizarre, the tribalry that some people.
I don't get it. Some people won't wear blue ever, which makes me laugh because I hate that because I really suit sky blue. It's frustratingly, but yeah, I'm not like that. Some people won't have any blue in their house or anything.
I know, it's crazy, mate, and it's absolutely crazy. So obviously from Manchester. So don't want to give away your age, don't want to give away mine either. But let's talk about growing up in Manchester as a Red. I guess you're the same as me. You were growing up in a time when we were pretty successful. So. Did you have any Blues in your family? Any Blues as mates? Have they all sprouted up recently? What was it like?
Yeah, so I had plenty of Blues as mates. As family, absolutely not. You were not allowed to be a Drinkwater or on my mum's side if you were a Manchester City fan. Absolutely no way. So in terms of the passionate football fans in my family, everyone was a Red. In terms of Blues, it's school. You're littered with them. I understand that there's a conception outside of Manchester that Man City have no fans and Man United have all the fans in the world. And, obviously, comparatively, it's correct. However, in the city of Manchester, in my experience around South Manchester, I would grew up sort of in Wythenshawe, went to school in Altrincham. I would say it's a 60-40 split. That's personally my experience, what I've said. But I know that in North Manchester, it's very different there, and in different areas. In Stockport, it's mostly City, for example. And Salford, it's pretty much all United. But for me, it was about a 60-40 split. So plenty of City fans in school. And, you know, you think that they've just got gobby nowadays because they're good. Oh, mate, they've always been gobby. I'll give that to City fans. They've always been gobby. They always used to get giddy. They always put the foot in the mouth. The only problem is nowadays they're actually delivering on the pitch after, you know, coming out with these bold claims, which is very annoying, it has to be said.
That's the thing, isn't it? At the end of the day, like if you go back like quite a while to when we were growing up, like the derbies were competitive, even though United were miles ahead of City in terms of league position and also the leagues they competed in at the time. And when it came to the derby, they always put up a fight. And that's what was probably so disappointing about the weekend. And I don't want to talk about it too much, but how disappointing to see a United team that didn't really show up. We know that City are streets ahead of United in terms of quality, but the very least you've got to do is compete. And that's what City did for all those years when they were the lesser team. So what were your thoughts on the weekend, mate?
I mean, that's a good point, isn't it? That Man City did always get themselves up for the derby. But for Man City, and I still think there are City fans about now, there's plenty of City fans that actually hate Man United more than they love Man City. Like, if Man United didn't exist, supporting Man City would be irrelevant for them, because what's the point if you've got, you know, if you've not got a rival? And for Manchester City back in the day, that was their big day, wasn't it? Like playing, yeah. It was their cup final. They'll try not to admit it, but it absolutely was. It was the only reason they were a Man City fan that derby day. So of course the players were going to be up for it. It's not necessarily the case for Manchester United players. We're not as irrelevant as Manchester City were back in the day, and we never will be. But you know, secondly, maybe there wasn't that sort of incentive behind it, which is rubbish, really. You know, United players should always have an incentive for a Manchester derby, but you know, maybe they just weren't as fired up for it as we've seen City teams in, you know, 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Yeah, potentially, man. It was really strange to see just that lack of effort, that lack of desire. But obviously, growing up in Manchester as a Red, we're going to come on to all-time Premier League 11s later on. But who were the idols? Who were the heroes growing up? Like favourite players, that kind of stuff. Come on, you've got to have one. I haven't got a collar, otherwise I'd pop it, surely.
Is that yours? Is yours Cantona?
Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe. Well, I mean, I it's quite an arrogant answer, in it, to say Cantona, but I'll top that with an even more arrogant answer. For me, it was David Beckham. I had about, I think I had, in my lifetime, I think I've had about 12 different haircuts, and I think 11 of them have been inspired by David Beckham.
I noticed that scrolling through your Instagram before, it was like Beckham haircut.
Including the current one. Look, I got the curtains going and everything. So, yeah, mate, David Beckham was the absolute man for me. Like, I know you said we're not giving away ages, but born in 95, I was. So I grew up with David Beckham. It's just my era. Just an absolute elite footballer as well. Weirdly enough, with David Beckham, right? And I'll also put Wayne Rooney actually into that category. Wayne Rooney was the reason that I really fell in love with football, I'll say. You know, David Beckham was a bit of an inspiration in many ways and an influence. But when I watched Wayne Rooney in his debut, that was it, where I was like, right, football is for me now. That's it, the rest of my life. But David Beckham, I weirdly think, and I don't know what you think on this, but I think he became such a celebrity, and he became known just as a name, David Beckham, you know, Posh Spice, even the kids now are celebrities in their own rights, that people forget that this guy was one of, if not the best footballer in the world for a good period as well. In 1999, Manchester United don't win the treble without David Beckham. Not just the 2 goals, you know, that obviously he set up from the corner, but just his performances. He was a relentless performer. I've never seen anyone take a free kick like David Beckham. I've never seen anyone cross a ball like David Beckham. And I almost think that he's become underrated, weirdly. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I'm not a million miles away from that, to be honest. Like, if you look at, hate to mention them again, but if you look at Haaland at City at the moment, people are talking about him being in the right place at the right time, and he's just relying on the delivery from all around him. You know, it's Kevin De Bruyne, it's Phil Foden, it's class. And you look at the people that were strikers for United back in the day, you know, your York, Cole, Sheringham, Solskjaer, they knew that delivery was coming in. David Beckham is probably the one person in history that can land a ball, along with Paul Scholes maybe, on an absolute sixpence every time. every single time. And we live in a time nowadays where corners don't seem to beat the first man 90% of the time. And Beckham was just delivering like game after game, week after week, season after season. And yeah, he is a celebrity. He's known all around the world. I think his move to America just enhanced that. And maybe people do forget what he did on the football pitch. And he was like nominated for Ballon d'Ors and stuff. He was one of the
runner up in Ballon d'Or. Runner up.
Yeah, runner up in the Ballon d'Or. Like you don't come runner up in the Ballon d'Or if you're not a serious footballer. You don't get a move to Real Madrid either. And yeah, David Beckham was phenomenal. But you are showing your age a little bit because I'm a little bit older than you. So when you're talking about the Rooney moment, I'm going to touch on my favourite United memory now, because you might not remember this if you were one at the time. But my favourite United memory is Cantona's goal in the cup final against Liverpool. Like we all know, we all hate Scousers, so it's obviously going to be a United Liverpool game. And Cantona's come back to score like a volley against Liverpool in the cup final 1-0. I was like 8 at the time, so around the same age you were with Rooney's debut and stuff. So it's like football just has this effect on you at that age, right? It's just like it just draws you in, and seeing the personality and the character that Cantona was, and him stepping up in that moment and delivering against the big rivals to win silverware. Like, obviously there's Champions League wins and we can go into the Nou Camp and we can go into Moscow and all that. But for me, that goal from Cantona and lifting that FA Cup is my personal favourite United memory. But we're not here to talk about me. We're all to talk about Gaz. So what's yours,
I'm interested in that though, because that game itself was actually a really crap game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then Cantona just comes out of nowhere and scores the goal. I think with Eric Cantona, I guess he's not a similar player, because I don't think he was quite as instrumental as Eric Cantona was, funnily enough. But I guess my generation's version of that would be Cristiano Ronaldo, where you look at Ronaldo and you're almost in awe of him. Like, I remember when I was a kid and he first came to United, and he was like almost like this, godlike presence at Manchester United. But then I saw someone like Wayne Rooney, me being a little scrote, grew up in Wivenshaw. I saw Wayne Rooney, I'm like, he's a bit like me. I can see myself in Wayne Rooney a little bit. And even though I was always crap at football, I was never, ever going to be a footballer, me. But there was just something about his intensity. And I just related to it. And, as much as you need your godlike presences like Cantona, like Ronaldo, sometimes you need just a scrapper who everyone can sort of see themselves in, like Wayne Rooney.
You definitely need a scrapper, mate. And Rooney's one of my favourite players of all time, to be honest, for that attitude that he brings to the football pitch. And again, touching on the derby at the weekend, but you can guarantee if he was playing, the players wouldn't have got away with that performance level. Same with Roy Keane. If he was on the pitch, the players wouldn't have got away with that performance and desire level.
Haaland would have scored a hat-trick.
Haaland definitely wouldn't have scored a hat-trick. There was all those memes going around Twitter. I'm not going to swear or whatever, but it was like, I bet Roy Keane wishes he'd injured Haaland's downstairs instead of his leg. And it might have been a different outcome. I was like, yeah, probably. If he had a genie, he probably wished that right about
bit now. To the left, Roy. Just go for his balls next time.
Yeah. Go for there next time, honestly. Just to bring up this comment from Steve from before as well. My favourite United player is Paul Scholes. Steve's actually an Arsenal fan, but big up for the comment. And it's hard to disagree. Paul Scholes is a phenomenal player. If you look at passing range and stuff, and the thing about Scholes is if you look at what all the greats have to say about him, like your Zidanes, your Xavis, your Iniestas, your Pirlos, all those players speak about Paul Scholes in glowing terms. And I think the greatest travesty of our generation is Paul Scholes being either not played or played out of position for England. I think it's an absolute travesty. And one of the reasons why England didn't really perform to the level that they should have done, because they took their best player, arguably, and just sacrificed him and played him out of position. And then someone agreeing with almost what you said, and always will be CR7 for me. Listen, it's a generation thing. Honestly, I promise, if you grew up in the era of Cantona, you'd think very similar about him, like the personality he was. It's absolutely just a maverick. Absolutely love watching him.
You know what you said about Paul Scholes then, and I sort of worry here about the more modern generation of football fan, and just generally the way that we consume media. For example, it's always it's a lot of short form video now and TikToks and things like that, and I kind of feel like players like Paul Scholes, players like Andres Iniesta, even players like Xavi, players like Pirlo, I almost think that as the years go on, they're going to be less appreciated, because People want to watch highlights reels. People want to watch a player beating 6 men and a player putting balls in top corners and scoring free kicks and stuff like that. And there's so much more to football than that. And there's a reason that so many professionals will rave about these types of players who control games of football, because if you watch 90 minutes, you really realize that everything comes through them and they dictate the play. And I just hope that, I'm not trying to patronize the younger generation here, but I'm just hoping that they get the appreciation that they deserve, those type of players.
And the perfect example of it recently is Michael Carrick, right? Boy, do we miss him in the midfield, like an absolute metronome that just controls everything, controls the tempo, and we'd kill for a player like Michael Carrick in our team right now. I know we've brought in Casemiro, who's a great destroyer, and hopefully will build up and get into the team and be a starter, because he's absolutely class in his position. But when it comes to someone like a Michael Carrick, he just absolutely oozes class and controls games like so easily. Did we get your favourite memory, mate, or not?
No, so weirdly enough, the Rooney one that I mentioned, when he scored that hat-trick on his debut, because I didn't have a season ticket at that point. That was just a game that we went to, and we got the season ticket the next season. But we went to that game, and I remember as a kid thinking, like, that was the moment that I fell in love properly with football and became obsessed with Man United. But I think for me, in terms of my favourite moment, it's got to be the best day of my life, and that was 2008 in Moscow. Now, me, my grandma, and my granddad all went to Russia for this one, and I just remember being just so enamored by just the whole experience of it. We'd gone to the new camp as well for the semi-final, and firstly, just wandering around Moscow and going in these weird bars was amazing with my grandparents. But then the game itself, and I remember it just meant everything to me at the time. And when we got to the penalty shootout, I remember thinking that United really should have won the game before that, but we got to the penalty shootout and Drogba had been sent off as well in extra time with a red card, so you knew he wasn't going to be taking a penalty. And then I remember Ronaldo stepped up to take the third penalty for United. I'm pretty sure it's the third penalty.
Yeah.
And he missed.
Yeah.
And I instantly floods of tears. Instantly floods. I was about 13, 14, I think. And I'm just in floods. I'm like, that's if Ronaldo's missing, we're done. We're done here. I can't watch the rest of it. And I'm sat there like that, just like crying like that. And John Terry steps up, and I'm like, I'm not even looking. And he misses. And everyone around me, mate, everyone's going mad. Everyone's going mental. All the United fans. I've not moved I've not moved at all. I'm like, nope, still sudden death. We're still losing this. I'm not having it. And then they all stepped up. Anderson scored. I think Nani scored and Giggs scored, I think it was. And then Anelka stepped up. And I don't know why, but I just started watching then. I was like, no, he's missing. I can tell he's missing. And he did. And I just couldn't believe it, mate. I'm getting excited thinking about it now, because my emotion in terms of football has never been as high as it was that day. And, it'll have to take something incredible in the next few years to ever beat that feeling. Amazing.
Yeah, I think touching on the Ronaldo miss in the shootout, that was always happening. I just remember thinking at the time, I was like, he's guaranteed to miss. But then the flip side of that is like, who better than John Terry, Mr. Chelsea, Mr. Arrogant, Mr. Chelsea to miss, and who better than Nicholas Anelka, who played for Arsenal, Liverpool and City, to miss as well. Like, perfect storm came for us that they both missed, which is great. I'm also looking at Steve here saying 100%. He's talking about Paul Scholes. Paul just got 66 caps for England from 97 to 2004. How we didn't get more is a travesty. Obviously, around that, I think he got a few more, but I agree. It's an absolute travesty that he was played out of position and just not really used centrally to that England team, which he should have done. Right, mate. Controversy time. Let's go.
Oh, here we go.
Formation and manager, first of all.
I wonder who the manager's going to be. David Moyes.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to go 4-4-2. I feel like, not going to mess about. I mean, I guess I could mix it up if I'm trying to get certain players in there, because I'd love to put some outrageous shouts in it. I would. Like, there's some United players, especially from like that 2008 team, which have become massively underrated. I don't know why I'm starting to come.
You're getting kicked off the stream, by the way. If you put him in, you're gone.
Who?
Tevez, you're gone.
Right, yeah. Now, he's not in my team. He's not. But if he didn't do what he did after, like he'd be in with a shout because, oh my God, Carlos Tevez was phenomenal for Manchester United. Let's not forget that. And, another player as well, and I don't know why I'm starting this by talking about this guy because it's such a random player. Owen Hargreaves.
Yeah,
he was good. He was class that season, mate.
Class.
But obviously, they're not getting anywhere near my team. The big question, I think one of the biggest discussion points here is the goalkeeper, actually. Because
this is a funny one because I go straight away goalkeeper. I don't even question it. But a lot of people, especially from your generation, give an argument for a certain other goalkeeper. And I think that's who you're going to go with, to be honest. And fair play if you do.
Well, I'm not going to go for Van der Sar. I'm not. But there's a key reason for this. Van der Sar has an incredible clean sheet record at Man United. He broke records. He was absolutely brilliant. If it wasn't for Chelsea being like one of the strongest defensive teams we've ever seen in that period, I think Van der Sar would be really rated as one of the Premier League's greatest ever. But I do think he was quietly outshone by Petr Cech in that period. So I'm going to go for Peter Schmeichel in goal. And the main reason for Peter Schmeichel in goal is because not only was he a phenomenal goalkeeper that won Manchester United so many games, but he was unique as well. And me as a Manchester United, as a football fan who, it's not all about stats, it's not all about numbers, it's not even all about results sometimes, it's all about what I like to watch. Schmeichel and that huge frame, the way he leapt in front of people was unique. So I'm going Schmeichel in goal, mate.
That's fine. I have no arguments. He would be my goalkeeper every single day of the week. So you're going 4-4-2. There's only one right back choice, right? Unless you're going with the guy that assisted in your favourite game ever.
What, Wes Brown?
Yeah, great cross.
Yeah. I mean, I will say that Wes Brown, incredibly underrated at Manchester United. Right back, centre back, brilliant at both. I'm going Gary Neville, of course I am. Just missed with fullbacks, you want consistency. I think that's got to be the main thing all the time. And Gary Neville, and I'll give you my other fullback as well. And he's mainly there because of the consistency. And it's Dennis Irwin.
Yes, I was sure you were going to go for Evra. I was certain you were going to go for Evra.
There's only one reason, and it's the only reason that Dennis Irwin gets in this team above Patrice Evra is because he can take set pieces as well. Like they were both every week 8 out of 10. You can rely on him. Evra was class, man. He's my generation's left back, obviously, but purely because of the set pieces, that's what gets Dennis above Patrice for me.
Fair enough, mate. So 2 centre backs. Are you going with the pairing from your generation? Come on, they're pretty hard to beat.
You've got to, mate. You've just got to. I was thinking of a case for any of the other centre-backs that we've had coming in here. And obviously, I'm not sure about the eras and stuff like that, but Manchester United have had so many. Jaap Stam needs a shout-out, but Bruce and Pallister obviously need a shout-out more than most. But I've gone for Ferdinand and Vidic. Of course I have. Mainly because if you're almost designing a football team, then they are your 2 perfect centre-back partnerships. The only difference you'd make, I suppose, in the modern game is you'd make one of them left-footed. But in Nemanja Vidic, you've got a defender who will die for the club, will die to stop a goal, will quite regularly. He was bleeding all over the shop when he was playing. That sort of bravery is exactly what you need, and it's infectious to the rest of the team as well. When you see someone go in with a flying challenge or a massive header, you get G'd up by it as well. And that's why Man United scored so many late goals, I think. And Rio Ferdinand as well, obviously. Rio Ferdinand, right, there's this one descriptive term that everyone says about Rio Ferdinand, and they always say it about him, and weirdly Rafael Varane as well now.
Is it Rolls Royce, is it?
He's a Rolls Royce of a defender.
Rolls Royce of a defender, yeah. Yeah, I've heard.
Like, what do you even mean by that? But Rio Ferdinand was just absolutely phenomenal. Did make a couple of mistakes, I remember, though. But on the ball, cool.
He got a goal against Liverpool, so it all cancels out, doesn't it? Left foot goal against Liverpool, so all cancels out.
I also remember the back pass. I think it was against Portsmouth. Do you remember which one I'm on about here?
Yeah.
Where he just passed it in his own goal.
Yeah, it was Portsmouth, actually.
So, that was a shocker.
And then Bellamy in the cup, I think, ran round him as well. And I just remember him giving the ball away, Bellamy racing to make it 3-3 in the cup game when we won 4-3.
That wasn't the cup. It was the league, that, wasn't it? It was the City game in the league.
Was it?
Yeah. That was Ferdinand who gave it away to Bellamy, wasn't it, at the end? And
nightmare. Absolute nightmare. So moving on to midfield, mate. I think you've already given away who your right winger is, but that means you're ruling out a certain multiple Ballon d'Or winner and 5-time Champions League winner. Surely, if you're choosing Mr. Beckham.
Yeah, Mr. Beckham's in the team, and I am not putting Cristiano Ronaldo in my team, which I realise is a bit of an outrageous shout. Cristiano Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo is one of the best players, probably the best player to ever play for Manchester United. I would say that. But we're putting our all-time United 11 together here. And although he was obviously massively important with us winning the Champions League, we wouldn't have won the treble without David Beckham. And even though Ronaldo earned more personal honours than David Beckham did, because he won that Ballon d'Or, David Beckham was runner-up and I think deserved to win it that year. You cannot underrate David Beckham for what he did at Man United. Obviously, what Ronaldo's done after Man United has far surpassed what David Beckham did in the game. But for what they did for Man United, it's got to be Becks.
Big shout, guys. Big shout.
You're not having it?
I don't know. Like we could agree to almost agree/disagree. It's fine. I'm going to bring this comment up because we missed out in defence when we were talking about right backs, and obviously he doesn't make the team. But I do think Antonio Valencia was a good right back for Man United. Like I think he was a good captain. He morphed into that role, and he actually did a good job for us for a couple of seasons. So who's your left winger? Come on, it's got to be Giggsy round the head, surely with the goal against Arsenal and the hairy chest. It's got to be.
He holds a record for the most Premier League titles ever. It's impossible not to put him in. Ryan Giggs, a constant throughout my time watching Manchester United was Ryan Giggs. And obviously, as I saw him,
not anyone like that.
What'd you say, mate?
Not Jasper Blomqvist, not Andrei Kanchelskis.
Obviously, players who have done phenomenal things for Man United, but you're not quite Ryan Giggs, are they? Kanchelskis, though, he's a phenomenal player, Andrei Kanchelskis. But Ryan Giggs, I grew up watching him, particularly the end of his career. Although played on till he was like 46 or something, didn't he? So it was always the end of his career. But the way that he adjusted his game as well, I know there's a few frustrations towards the end when he was being played in centre midfield and he maybe wasn't quite able to do it as well as he was as a winger. But I thought he still had a lot of influence at Manchester United, and he did play in so many big games as well. Ryan Giggs has to be in the team. Look at what he's won in terms of individual talent as well. The guy was just relentless for Manchester United. You can't not put Giggsy in the team, I don't think. But if you were going to say not just Premier League era, then maybe we're talking about George Best in one of those positions. Left or right, I guess George Best, but Premier League era Ryan Giggs.
Yeah, going to bring up this comment. That goal alone deserves to get Giggsy in, to be honest. That goal in the semi-final, it's probably one of the best goals I've ever seen anyone in a Man United shirt score, to be honest. So, yeah, Ryan Giggs walks in. And it's a credit to you for putting him in, actually, because obviously you didn't really see the best of Ryan Giggs. I'll be honest. Like, Giggs in a more central role wasn't the Giggs that made fans fall in love with him. Giggs was the roaring winger. And, the Giggs will tear you apart again song, like just running down the wing over and over again. Feared by the Blues, loved by the Reds. That's what he did. He just ran down the wing. So Ryan Giggs was like phenomenal player for Manchester United. And anyone who knows anything about United will put him in their 11, no doubt. And I don't think we're going to argue in central midfield, to be honest. I'm going to guess you might have Keno and Scholesy, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, look, there is an argument for the man that you said earlier on, Michael Carrick, and how successful he was at Manchester United. There's absolutely an argument for him. But at Manchester United, I've always thought that, particularly under Sir Alex Ferguson, we'd always have two world-class players. We'd always have a world-class player in each position, and then you'd almost have two backup players to them, which were greater than the sum of their parts. And like we wouldn't have been successful and won as many league titles without some of these backup players, like players that we mentioned already, like Wes Brown, players like John O'Shea, Darren Fletcher, Park Ji-sung. We wouldn't have won as much as we did without players like that. But it's pretty easy who gets in the all-time greatest Premier League 11, and it does have to be Roy Keane and Paul Scholes, in a similar vein to Rio Ferdinand and Nemanja Vidic, where they complement each other so well. They're two skill sets. And I know that Paul Scholes, it's similar with Ryan Giggs, weirdly. I saw a different Paul Scholes to maybe the Paul Scholes that you grew up with, where he was playing as that second striker and he was just a forward player, and that's what Paul Scholes was all about. Whereas obviously my greatest era watching Paul Scholes, and for me, I think this is when Paul Scholes was at his best, was when he got a bit older and he started playing deeper and he played as that deep lying midfielder and he just dictated the play, dictated the tempo. And in terms of passing, I've never seen anything like it. And still to this day, I've never seen... I hate saying this. The only thing I've seen that is even slightly similar, although I actually think he's more similar to David Beckham, is Kevin De Bruyne. But Paul Scholes just... at Old Trafford, I've never seen so many passes like get an audible groan. Like a moan from the fans. They go, it's so good. And then Roy Keane, what else do you need to say about Roy Keane? One thing I find fascinating about Roy Keane is how he'd play modern football, because you wouldn't play him as a destroyer, as a defensive midfield destroyer. I think you'd play him as a box to box, which is obviously the role that he sort of played, and getting in there and causing mayhem. But I wonder what kind of style Roy Keane would play nowadays.
I think he's just malleable, though, isn't he? I think he's just one of those players that would do a job, whatever job the manager asked him to do on a football pitch. And I want to give a special shout out to someone that just misses out because of the era they played in. I mean, he did play in the league, but obviously didn't play enough in the Premier League. And that's United's greatest ever captain, in my opinion. And that's Brian Robson.
Captain Marvel.
What a phenomenal player, man. Like, honestly, phenomenal player. And if you're doing all-time 11s, like just with no boundaries whatsoever, he has a great shout to get in there. Like, phenomenal footballer. And massively underrated by many. And if you haven't seen the Robbo documentary, I strongly suggest you watch it. It's well worth a watch. So yeah, we're moving on to your two strikers. And just before I get them from you, I'm going to bring up this comment from an Arsenal fan. I'm going to bring that up. So it's up to you, mate. Are you gonna annoy Steve? What are you doing?
You know what, right? I didn't know it was because he was an Arsenal fan. I thought he was genuinely just saying, like, you can't put Van Persie in. But, like, when we talk... Recently, we did our... at work, we did our Premier League all-time 11. And I wanted to put Van Persie in so badly. I really, really did. It was more just that he didn't win that many Premier League titles that I couldn't put him in. And that's the only reason he don't get in my team here. It's only because he only had that one season where, and that one season, that was absolutely phenomenal. Look how bad the rest of the team was. It was proven the next season. He dragged us to a Premier League title. All this talk of Haaland at the minute, don't get me wrong, Erling Haaland, I think within 6 months we'll be talking about the best footballer in the world. But in terms, Man City win the league without Erling Haaland. They do, and they would do this season. United would have finished 6th that season without Robin Van Persie in the form he was in. He was sensational. But he's not in my team, obviously.
So you're picking 2 strikers. I'm guessing, like, for me, it's 2 from 3, right? You've got to pick, and sorry to put words in your mouth, but you've got to pick some of Ruud van Nistelrooy, Wayne Rooney, or Eric Cantona. So you're going to upset someone. Probably me.
Not Berbatov?
Come on, man. Levels.
No, I agree. Wayne Rooney and Eric Cantona. That's my front two. I did consider Dimitar Berbatov, and while we're talking about fringe players as well. Before, another player I want to throw in here, Louis Saha. I thought he was really good for Man United. He just had the injury problems, but he's the best penalty taker I've ever seen. Anyway, I'll put it that way. And Ruud van Nistelrooy. I mean, he was incredible in terms of, I think he scored, was it 1 goal outside the box or something?
Box, yeah.
Something for Man United, which is mad. That shows you how good a striker he was. Sensational finisher, and maybe the greatest we've seen at Manchester United in terms of a pure goal scorer, which isn't what either Cantona or Rooney are. So weirdly enough, if I was creating a team here, which I'm actually going to put out to play a game of football, I would probably put Ruud van Nistelrooy in there instead of Cantona, or instead of Rooney, probably instead of Cantona, to be honest. But for the purpose of just picking the 11 best players in each position, I've got to go for Wayne Rooney and Eric Cantona. Eric Cantona, Manchester United wouldn't be the club they are today. Without Eric Cantona, Manchester United wouldn't have dominated the Premier League era like they did. Without Eric Cantona in those early years of it, And almost the swagger of him as well, the celebrity. I know he wasn't like, in terms of worldwide celebrity, but that's what got a lot of people into Manchester United and got us becoming this huge behemoth that we are. And Wayne Rooney, for all the reasons I've already said, the reason I fell in love with football, proper street footballer, he's got to be him.
I'm glad I'm not being asked for my 11, actually, because I really, really struggle with.
Who would you have?
I don't know. I change it all the time because Ruud van Nistelrooy is single-handedly the best striker I've ever seen in a Manchester United shirt of any era. Single-handedly. Like, if you want one person on the end of a chance, it's Ruud van Nistelrooy, no questions asked.
I agree.
Wayne Rooney, for what he's done at the club, is phenomenal. Like, breaking records left, right, and centre. Like, I think people think too much about the Wayne Rooney towards the end of his career, and they don't realise like the absolute animal he was in like Euro 2004 or whatever, like absolute animal. When he burst onto the scene, like moving from Everton to United, record signed at the time, 28 point something £30 million. And he was incredible. So it's really hard to leave Rooney out, but then it's really hard to leave out my favourite player of all time, like just from a personality point of view and a character. And Cantona, I want him on the pitch, man. So it's, thankfully I'm not the one giving my 11, so I don't have to give the answer. But it's a real struggle between, it's 2 out of 3 of them, unless I play 4-3-3. But then I still have to leave out Ronaldo. So it's just hard, isn't it?
Mate, I was going through it before, and I was considering playing 3 at the back and putting Beckham wing back. So.
Yeah, to be honest, mate, there's so much talent that you've got to fit in. I guess, like, cycling back to the fact that, like, we both grew up in Manchester during what is probably the golden era of football for Manchester United. Just how lucky are we that we grew up? I mean, I was born in '88, so for me, like, from when I started watching football, I've known nothing but Manchester United success. Like, I remember the first Premier League we won. I remember the whole 26 years, basically, of Sir Alex Ferguson. And it was just like, it was the perfect time to grow up in Manchester as a United fan. It just so happened that my local club just so happened to be the best team in the world during the majority of that time, along with Barcelona later on. But we were just competing for the league, cups, European cups, like every single year. And it was awesome, man. Wasn't it? Like, growing up in that time, it was just, it was unreal.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously it was school for me at the time, but you just relished school every week, didn't you? Because of how good Manchester United were. And I miss the complaints that we used to have, like when we used to complain about Man United. Like we used to complain about things like, I remember being at a game, right? Oh, what year are we talking here? We must be talking around.
It wasn't the Fulham game with the crosses, was it? That's the game.
No. Way before that. Maybe late noughties. I can't really remember the year, but I remember this bloke behind me saying, "Tell you what, that Scholesy just not the player he used to be, is he?" He takes too long on the ball, and I'm just thinking, are you for real? Like, that's the stuff we used to complain about, and nowadays it's like, oh, he can't even control a ball.
Yeah, like we used to complain about, oh, it's May and we've not got the title wrapped up yet.
Yeah.
Or, oh, we're having to bring Owen Hargreaves off the bench, or like think so and so can't get a game. It's like, things have changed a little bit. I think they've definitely changed a little bit. So
it's football, though, mate. Football we go through periods in football. Look, if you don't have the bad times, you won't appreciate the good times either. So it's absolutely got to happen.
Correct, mate. And you remember Ten Hag's first interview or whatever when he was asked about Liverpool and City, he was like, eras come to an end. That's what happens. And let's hope we're alive for their eras coming to an end. We're probably already seeing the end of Liverpool's mini era. And the City one doesn't look like ending anytime soon, but it has to end at some point. So moving on to United in the current era, and we'll move on to the game from last night. So obviously it was Omani and Nicosia 2, Man United 3, and made hard work of it out in Cyprus. What were your thoughts, mate?
Weirdly, so when in a game like this, it's similar to the game against Sheriff. I suppose you have 2 options, don't you? You have the option of play calm, composed. The goals will come. You're a better team than these. You're going to beat them. No rush, though. Take your time. Just dominate the game, which is what we did against Sheriff. And it was a very boring game, really, I'd say. Not too many talking points, but we did dominate them. We won. There was never going to be any questions about it. Ammonia and Nicosia, we clearly went at the game after the Man City result of, right, come on, let's blow these away. Early doors, show the fans that we mean business. these are nothing. We'll have this game wrapped up half an hour gone. And we should have had the game wrapped up with half an hour gone because we were relentless. The amount of shots we were taking was absolutely bonkers. And they weren't like bad chances we were creating. I think a little bit of bad luck, to be honest, in there. And then obviously they go and score the goal. And some people will say, you know, there's no excuse for it. And I'm not trying to make an excuse for it, but it was a freak goal for me. It was a freak goal. It came out of absolutely nowhere. But, you know, half time, you're 1-0 down. You're in Cyprus somewhere. I think United have probably played once. I can't remember if United have ever played there before.
We played once. It was a rearranged fixture because there was trouble in some. I can't remember who we're playing. Oh God, we were playing someone, and basically the game couldn't be played at their local ground, so it was moved into Cyprus for a game. At Maccabi Haifa, there was trouble in Israel, so it got moved over to Cyprus, and we played a game there. But I think that's the only time United have played there in their history.
Yeah, so it's a tough place to go, obviously. But second half, we obviously were a bit more composed. Marcus Rashford, obviously, his pace caused a lot of problems. But then towards the end of the game, you've got it wrapped up at 3-1. And so just let them come up the other end and score again. It's bonkers defending. Absolutely bonkers defending. And Victor Lindelof at fault again. Malacia at fault for the first one. So there were individual errors as well. And I don't think we're going to see either of those two play the game at the weekend because of their individual errors. Malacia has had an absolute stinker for 2 games in a row now and not lasted 45 minutes. So, yeah, individual errors, but we did well to actually come back and show the character to get the win. Cristiano Ronaldo, though, as well. Massive worries about him now, mate. Massive worries.
There is, but I want to bring up a comment because I agree with this comment. And judging by yours, maybe you disagree, but there was a lot of talk last night that Ronaldo was awful. And Bobby says he thinks it was way off. He says, yes, he missed chances, but I thought he played well. So here's what I want to say about Ronaldo last night, right? Like, yes, he missed a lot of chances, missed an open goal, didn't gamble when Rashford played him in, etc. Cristiano Ronaldo, usually, the complaint we have about Ronaldo is, oh, he just scores goals. He brings nothing else to the team. Like, that's what Ronaldo does. He can do nothing for a whole game but score goals. And people tend to complain about it. And it's like, actually, the complete reverse was true last night. I thought he brought a lot to the team. I thought his energy was good. His passing was good. His hold-up play was good. His link-up play was very good. His runs were good. I thought he was good. I thought he had a really good all-round game. But I heard a lot of people hating on him. And it's like, yes, he didn't put the ball in the net, but maybe it was just one of them games. Like, it looked like he was trying so hard and he could have played till Christmas, mate, and not scored. I don't know what you're thinking because you said there's major worries. So I don't know how you see it.
Well, it's just there's certain aspects of his game which he doesn't seem to be doing anymore. And also I just don't think he fits this style of play. You've got to give him credit for the Rashford goal, by the way, because Rashford doesn't score that goal when he comes on without Cristiano Ronaldo making that clever run. I'm not sure if that's why Ronaldo made the run or he made it just because he wanted the ball himself. But, you know, you've got to give him credit there. And I agree that people maybe have been a little bit too harsh with the performance, but it's because we have high standards for Cristiano Ronaldo. And he should have got a goal last night. He should have. And it's not just last night. It's the fact that he's not scored a non-penalty goal all season. He just doesn't fit into this system, and I'm worrying for him in a United shirt. I think it's probably the last few months that we've got of him in a United shirt. But I tell you what, he's given a lot to Man United, and I'm still glad that we signed him last season as well because singing "Viva Ronaldo" at Old Trafford again. Honestly, I know I don't want to be too romantic about the whole thing, but me and my grandma at Old Trafford singing "Viva Ronaldo" when we were doing it 15 years earlier in Moscow. Like, that's what it's all about for me. Yeah. So I'm still glad we brought him back, but I think it's probably time to say goodbye now, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's an interesting, you said a couple more months. I guess that probably means that you think he's going in January, but unless we can replace him, I don't really see him going in January. I really think we're so short up front that a couple of injuries is going to leave us in a lot of trouble. So unless we've got a replacement and we're going to enter the market, I think it's
sorry, that's just my Alexa going off. Alexa, stop.
Come on, Alexa. Come on, love. You can't just interrupt like that.
Honestly, what's she reminding me? Oh, I know what she's reminding me. Hang on a minute. Alexa, stop. Is she going to stop?
Yeah.
Yeah, she stopped. She's reminded me because me missus is at work. We work at the same place, and she's forgot her hot water bottle, and she's asked me to bring her hot water bottle. And I know, like a knobhead, if someone asks me to do something in an hour's time, I'll totally forget. So I have to get Alexa to remind me. And now what's happened is I'm going to finish this podcast. And I'm going to forget anyway.
Yeah, you are, mate. You are. I think she's just happy about my stance on Ronaldo, to be honest. So she just wanted to get involved. But maybe she'll pop up with her thoughts on the expectations for the season, mate, because that's what we're going to talk about now. So obviously, we're a fair few games in. We started off really poorly. We picked up. We then had a little bit of a drop off. What's your expectations for the season? What's the minimum floor? What's the ceiling? Where can we go with Ten Hag this season?
Oh, mate, anywhere between 6th and 2nd. Mate, it would not surprise me if United finished 2nd this season. And
City will be Arsenal fans in the chat.
Oh, mate, no, it wouldn't surprise me though. City will win the league by 25 points this year.
I think so.
I hope everyone's aware of that. There's no competition to Man City this year. Arsenal, don't be ridiculous. 2nd is the best that any of us can hope for, right? And genuinely, it could go the other way. I remember the tweets I was getting from Arsenal fans last season, like, we've wrapped up top 4 now, and it's like, look what happened. Anything can happen, lads. So you know what your team's like. Get used to it. I know what my team's like. I know that we can look brilliant for a few games and then look absolutely crap for 2 months. So I won't be putting my eggs in any basket. But honestly, it would not surprise me if you 2nd or 6th, and I have no idea which way it's going to go. At the moment, based on what I've seen this season, and based on the fact that I do think we turned a massive corner after the Brentford game, based on what I've seen, I think we're going to get 4th place.
Yeah. I'm torn between 4th and 5th at the moment, but I'd be really happy with 4th, obviously. I'm just happy, I want to see, the league stop. I want to see a bit more passion on the pitch. I want to see a style of play. I just want to see more togetherness. What I'm really missing recently, remember when we were on that winning run and all the defenders were, celebrating winning throws and fist bumping and chest bumping and all this? I'm I've not seen that the last couple of games. And it's I want to get that togetherness back, and maybe that'll come back with winning football games, and that mentality will come. But, they were all fighting for each other, and I was really happy with all that. But yeah, I'd take 4th or 5th. What about the cup runs? Where do you see Europa League, Carling Cup, FA Cup? Do you see us doing any damage in any of them?
That's a proper naughty football fan, by the way. Carling Cup. I still do that. Carling Cup. Yeah, look, the cups. It's hard to predict the cups, isn't it? Because it just sometimes can be a bit of luck. And if we get lucky in the draws, then yeah, we've got a great chance, absolutely. But if you need to avoid Man City. I'm sorry, but you need to avoid Man City. And I hate bigging up Man City on a Man United podcast. As a Man United fan, it makes me sick. But for me, they are heads and shoulders above everyone else at the minute. So that's it. It's as simple as that. If we can beat City in a cup, we can win the cup.
Yeah, agreed, mate. Agreed. Thankfully, they're not in the Europa League. Do you remember being on Talking Balls a while ago and there was a United fan that called in that said that City or Liverpool could play us in the Europa League? Do you remember that? What was he on? What was it? National radio, live radio. What was he on?
Don't live. Yeah, I don't know what Liverpool are doing in the Champions League. I've not been watching them too much, but you never know with them lot. To be fair, I hate that about the Europa League, that 3rd place teams drop into it, to be honest. It ruins the competition, mainly because it makes it harder for us to win.
I also found out that 2nd place doesn't automatically get through and we have to play off. So we've got a big job, because obviously that game against Sociedad at the end of the group stage is basically going to be a winner takes all thing. Otherwise, we're going to end up with an extra game that we really, really don't want. So I mentioned Talking Balls there, which is a radio show that Gaz presents. Do you want to talk a little bit? The last topic is about life working in the media. I think I first met Gaz or saw Gaz. I think you were doing fan cams for Full-Time Devils way back in the day at a away game in Newcastle.
Really?
Yeah. I'm going back years.
Mate, send me that fan cam if you can find it.
Honestly, you were a bit baby faced, and I was very hoarse. I think we drew. I think it was the game we drew 3-3 up there, and it was end to end or whatever. But it was a madness. But yeah, so it goes back quite that far. But now I kind of do segments a bit on your radio show. Do you want to talk a little bit about your jobs in the media and how you got into it and kind of what they entail? And is it living the dream?
Well, I love it. I always wanted to work in radio since I was a kid, and I think a lot of people think with me that it came from the fan channel side of things, and it really, really didn't. Before the fan channels, I was already work experiencing at radio stations, and I think I worked it out recently. I think I've broadcast on about 20 something radio stations in my life so far, my career. I've been at it for about 8 years now professionally. But always wanted to do it, mate. I'm a big music fan, passionate about Manchester. And I've did my fair share of work experience. I think I did 3 years in radio without even getting bloody paid for it. And then eventually managed to force my way into it. I had various different jobs, working at the crack of dawn, working at the bizarre hours. And then weirdly enough, I did a breakfast show. And then the company that owns the breakfast show, the radio station, like quite a lot of radio stations at the minute, decided that they couldn't afford to run the radio station in Manchester, and it was all going to London, which is what has happened with so many radio stations at the minute. Yeah. And I remember being gutted, devastated, didn't know what I was going to do to pay the bills, and didn't know what I was going to do without a job. And then I randomly just got a phone call from Radio Manchester just saying, look, BBC are launching a new football phone-in show. It's called Talking Balls. We want two, younger Man United, Man City fans to come on and kick off this radio phone-in. And it's just been full steam ahead from there. I think we've been at it for about 3 years now, maybe even a little bit more. But it's on BBC Radio Manchester. It's on at 6 p.m. We always want Man United fans on the show. So, if you are a Man United fan, drop us a DM, drop us it on Twitter at @radio_Gaz. Or if you're just listening to the radio, just give us a ring, 0800 218 2255. We always want to hear from you. And I absolutely love it, mate. And then from doing Talking Balls, I've also got into match reporting, where basically Radio Manchester will do updates on the game throughout whatever show is on at the time. Usually it is a sports show, sometimes it's not. And basically I go to Old Trafford and sit there and commentate on the highlights of the game, if you like. And it's just absolutely brilliant. And that is living the dream, I'll say that.
Yeah, how surreal is that to go to Old Trafford and be working there? Absolutely surreal. And did you launch a Man United podcast as well? Do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Manchester United podcast, the new dedicated BBC Manchester United podcast, the only one from the BBC. It's on BBC Sounds. It's called The Devil's Advocate. You can get it on anywhere that you get your podcasts. And it's me and my mate Joe McGrath, who has a similar story to me in terms of getting into radio. And he's been a mate of mine for a while. And basically, we just have a natter about Manchester United for around, I think it's about 30 minutes, 40 minutes every week, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I think. But get on it. This week, it's a bit of a therapy session, as you can imagine, after the derby. But we put them out every Monday or Tuesday. And yeah, it's just two lifelong Reds talking all things Manchester United. And, it has the might of the BBC behind it. So, you're paying for it already, so you might as well watch it.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. Already paying for it. Get it on, tune in. And then obviously, as I said, I remember you from Full-Time Devils back in the day, now rebranded and renamed Stretford Paddock. You're doing some work with that. How did you get back involved with that, and how's that going, and what's your role? How often do you do stuff, that kind of thing?
Oh, yeah, well, Stretford Paddock, obviously a lot of the stuff they do is watch-alongs and stuff like that. So naturally, I'm already busy providing updates on them for Radio Manchester. So I don't get to appear on Stretford Paddock as much as I'd love to. I'd love to be on it as much as possible. Just life gets in the way, doesn't it? But yeah, obviously they were Full-Time Devils. I used to do loads back in the Full-Time Devils days. Then it switched up to Stretford Paddock. I've got back involved recently, just, through a lot of my mates who are still there on Stretford Paddock. Jay Motty, he's just a top lad. Met Joe Smith as well in the last few months, and he's just just absolutely hilarious bloke. He does a he does a podcast with Joe McGrath as well, so check that out as well. Sloppy Joe's, it's dead funny. Adam, he's a legend. Always loved Adam. So, mate, just getting stuck back into it that way. And yeah, whenever I'm free and whenever they ask me, I'm there.
Sounds good, man. Well, as it's scrolling across the bottom at the moment, like the video, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I'm brand new to all this YouTube stuff and brand new to all this broadcasting stuff. Unlike
he's good, isn't he? Hey, you're brand new. He's good.
Yeah, considering he's the professional, isn't he? He's the professional. So we've got to take advice and take note from him. But yeah, obviously, I shouldn't really ask you because you've got a much bigger following than me. But anything else you want to plug before you go?
You can subscribe to my OnlyFans as well.
Of course you can. If you want to see someone in great shape, absolutely phenomenal shape, this is all a facade, honestly, what's under there Like he's obviously keeps himself in top shape. So his OnlyFans is coming basically. So this final comment before we go. Brilliant chat, guys. Make sure everyone watching likes and subscribes. Nice one, James. Nice one. Gaz, couldn't sum it up better, mate. Cheers, Steve. Always nice to see an Arsenal fan in the chat, clearly. But yeah, I've been James. That's been Gaz. And we've been Football and Fitness United. And we will see you next time. Cheers, guys.